Goodo. Okay, welcome everyone to day 2. I wanted to give a special shout out to those people from dialing in and replaying the webinars from overseas. I understand that Sydney time isn't ideal for the rest of the world, so it's great to see people coming in from England and Europe and Africa even. So it's exciting to see that this is going global. I love it. Today we're going to be talking about connecting with our teams. I love this quote from the Disney Institute that says the extent to which you genuinely care for your people is the extent to which they will care for their customers and for others. And it goes without saying that if you create that environment where people are feeling loved, they're feeling that they belong, then they're going to engage more effectively with their customers, and that's going to end up with greater business results. It's just natural. And it doesn't mean that you have to be nice all the time. It's about having authentic and genuine relationships and connections with your people so that when you have to have the tough conversations, they will be able to come easily. Because if you're always nice, there's a saying, nothing inside cares enough, because you're always just going to be on that surface level rather than getting in deep and growing your people. So today I'll give you the 5 key elements you need to consider as a leader to really connect with your team. And then we'll also talk about remote work. Number 1, and it's something that I hear coming up in the group, or see coming up in the group quite a lot when I ask what an inspired leader is, that you need to listen to your people. And it is absolutely critical. Not just listening on that surface level, but listening to understand. We have 2 ears, 1 mouth, and we need to use them in that rotation, in that ratio, sorry. And one-on-ones is a key thing to do so that you can creating a safe space to be able to have a really solid and deep conversation with your employee. So one-on-ones are not a work in progress, let's tick off your to-do list. There are, what are your longer term goals? What are your annual goals that you're working on? What are your career aspirations? And how can we get you there? There are two-way dialogue that actually, as a leader, you should be doing less of the talking. You might ask a few questions, but then listen and get your employees to do the talking there. What are their challenges? What support do they need? What feedback can they give you as their leader? And of course, you'll have the opportunity to give them feedback as well. But that feedback piece is critical. If they're giving you feedback as a leader, remember that it's actually going to be really hard for them. You're the one that's in control of their career, their salaries. So they're going to be scared to be giving that feedback to you. So thank them for it and actually actively show them that you're working on whatever that piece of feedback is. But check in to really understand what is happening for them. Quick poll. How often do you have one-on-ones with your team members? Okay, so we have quite a few that do them on a fortnightly basis. That's great. Bi-monthly, so every second month, quarterly, and a performance review time. Oh, sorry, I didn't show you the results there. There you go. Okay. So the majority of you have them on a fortnightly basis, and that's fantastic. So that is really probably even greater than best practice. Best practice shows that monthly is an ideal time frame, but it also depends on the team and how often you're connecting. While working remotely, fortnightly is absolutely ideal. You want to be increasing the amount of time you're having those conversations with people and those genuine check-ins. Sorry. And depends on the size of the team. Great, thank you. And Ebony, weekly, absolutely. So, fantastic. Thank you. Yeah, so you do need to be having those, and it's something that I find so many of my clients miss this step and wonder why they're not connecting effectively with their team, but they're not actually taking the time to sit down and say, what's going on for you right now? Let's not worry about today's task list. Let's focus on what you need from me as your leader, what you need to be able to thrive in the business, and how to really understand them. The other thing to really understand your team members is, can I have a show of hands, who has used any sort of psychometric testing before, any behavioural tools? Things like DISC is a really common one, HBDI, Myers-Briggs, predictive index, those sorts of tools. Yep, DISC is a pretty common one. So over my time, I've used most of the different tools out there. I've had experience with all of them. The one that I'm using at the moment is predictive index, and it's absolutely fantastic because it's a really quick test. It's only 10 minutes, word association. So instead of people sometimes getting confused by the sentences that are there, they actually just tick the words that resonate with them. And it builds this deeper understanding of what makes them tick. And how can you as a leader support them more? Some people are more, they need to think things through and be given information before they can be asked what their opinion on it is, so they can process things. Other people like to brainstorm out loud. Are your people natural leaders and want to influence, or do they prefer to follow and just go along with the flow? Do they need structure, or they prefer flexibility? So that's what these sorts of tests can really, really benefit, to have that deeper understanding and bring out some aha moments for the individual as well. And when you can get a test, the predictive index also does this, as some of the other ones as well. You can also create that team alignment to show how the different people in the team work together, and who is that go-to person for that particular type of task, because they'll be working their natural strength area at that stage. Okay, Amanda, I was reading where research on Myers-Briggs and DISC are quite fixed. Yep, our personalities can become fixed. Yes and no, I actually disagree with that a little bit. So following on from what we were talking about yesterday about creating our future vision, personalities often feel like they're fixed because people put themselves in a box of, oh, I'm an introvert. And do you know what? Guess what? When I was 15, I was an introvert. But I changed schools at that age, and I decided, no, I don't need to be that person anymore. I want to be a more social person. And I actively, and this is before doing psychology or anything, I just actively worked on that, and I changed my personality. So it's a point in time of what those people are and need at that time, but it's important to do them and change over time as well. Ooh, getting lots of chat today. Okay. Absolutely, Florence, the growth mindset. Yes, and Terry, yes, how you react at work can be different as well. Yes, and there are going to be some innate core pieces that might be fixed, but also that can be flexed over time. Great. Thank you for your chat, everybody. I love it. Okay. The second and critical piece is trust. And I love how Simon Sinek says, trust isn't an instruction. You can't force trust. It's a feeling. When people feel safe in an environment and with people, that's when they're going to foster and develop trust. There's a big debate over whether trust can be earned or has to be earned or could be freely given. And different people have different opinions on that based on past experience. But ultimately, I like to give trust initially and then hope for the best for people, and usually they deliver. When your team members know that you have their back, they're going to be more open with you. They're going to share knowledge of what's happening around the grounds. They're going to provide support to you and their team members. They'll take risks because they know that you have their back, that you're going to support them if they fail. And they will follow your lead. Unfortunately, according to Harvard Business Review, 58% of people would trust a stranger over their manager. That's more than half. So it's a bit scary. So what can we do to trust and build trust more readily in the workplace? The number one is to get to know and really understand your people, like we said in number one, to get to know them on a personal level as well, not just about work tasks. So it's okay. So many managers feel like they can't pry into somebody's personal life or ask them how they were on the weekend. But it is actually really important to do so. One of my clients came on board, and some of the people in his team were quite aging, and he was so fearful of having the retirement conversation with them that he felt like that was actually discriminatory. But if you do it in the right way, from a trusting environment, you build that trust first and that rapport, and then ask, hey, what's your 5-year plan? Are you considering retirement at any stage in the near future? Can we support you with that? We're not trying to get you out of the business, but we're just trying to look at who to allocate on which tasks and which customers and whatnot, and come at it from a place of support. Yep. It's important also, you don't need to be best buddies with your people just by getting to know them on a personal level, because being too close with your employees, your direct reports, can also have some issues there as well. But it's about creating that authentic bond and really getting to know people. Whoops, sorry, somebody's jumped in there. Transparency is also critical. Yes, Amanda, that's coming up just in a minute. And importantly, don't play the blame game. Don't criticize other people to individual staff members, because if you're blaming people or criticizing people, they're going to be thinking, hey, she might be doing that, or he might be doing that about me to somebody else. So making sure you're having genuine and proactive conversations. And of course, do what you say you will. Be reliable. If you're one of those people, I know that I'm someone that I have to write down. If I've said I'm going to do something, I put it down on my to-do list, or otherwise it'll likely go out of my head when I get busy doing something else. So if you know that about yourself, make sure you write it down. Don't wait for your employee to come and follow you up on it. Okay. And following on from Amanda's comment, transparency is absolutely critical to build trust. So over my years of doing engagement surveys with clients and companies that I've worked with, communication is the #1 thing that employees feel needs to improve. Regardless of how engaged a workforce is, people need more and more communication. So even if you think you've communicated with your people, you probably need to do some more. And if in doubt, ask them. Ask them, how are you going? Am I giving you enough information? The important thing also is to not assume that because they're silent, they've accepted and understood it. Ask them questions to check that they've read the email, if it's in an email, or that they've understood what you're asking them to do or what the situation is. No one likes to feel like they've been left out of the big picture. And again, a number of my clients have in the past held back company financial information, thinking that that's private and should only be at the management level. But by giving your people that sort of information, it shows that, again, you trust them with that information, but it gives them that bit of a kick of, wow, that project that I worked on actually created a significant impact for the business. So making sure you're sharing those little tidbits for people and potential products that are coming up and things that are happening around the business. Being transparent is also about giving tough feedback. So it's not that it's all rosy at work all the time. Yes, we want to be positive and have constructive conversations, but when tough feedback is required, you need to get onto that as quickly as you possibly can. Don't wait for the one-on-one meeting. Do it as close to the event as possible. By having that trusting relationship, you'll be able to have those conversations, and your employees will know that it comes from a place of genuine care and honesty, rather than just being nitpicking. And that's the other key thing with giving that sort of feedback. Don't nitpick on the little things. If you think, hey, they know they've stuffed up, don't comment on it. It just makes them feel crap. Let's be honest. Only if it's a consistent issue that's happened a number of times, or it's something that's really impacted the business that you need to talk through. Hey, this happened. Can you talk me through it? This was the impact of what happened, and how can we move better? What we need from you moving forward is this. How can I support you in that? So being really clear about that feedback. To share an example, I had a client of mine who had a team member that worked remotely in a technical role. He was regularly calling in sick. He wasn't turning up to team meetings, and he just was completely disengaged. My client was really worried about this person, knowing he was technically excellent, but just so disconnected from the team and wondering if he was even going to be able to retain him as an employee. It was that bad. But through creating that personal connection, being honest in his communication and finding ways that they could align, he turned the person's performance around by creating that genuine care factor. And 2 years later, my client just told me that they're considering promoting him to a team leader position. So it can happen. It's all around that connection. And of course, in remote teams, that communication needs to be ramped up even more because you're not having those anecdotal chats in the office at the moment. Fourthly is to show appreciation. People need to know that their work is impactful and appreciated. Expressing appreciation for efforts, both on individual and team levels, goes a long way to building that engagement and improving ongoing results. One of my favorite sayings is, what you focus on grows. We get that feel-good rush of dopamine in our brains when we've done something and we get rewarded. And that can expand our capabilities and our confidence in that area and actually start decreasing the weaknesses that we might have. So, and when you get that praise, it also, and that dopamine kick, it also makes you work more effectively and efficiently because your brain is on fire. And the good thing is that that dopamine kick also happens for the person that gives the praise. So you benefit too. Do I get a hell yeah for that one? Yes, okay. A short email thank you for somebody that's worked overtime, or a quick good job for somebody that's done a great work on a project, maybe all you need. But to be really specific around, hey, you really engaged that individual that was a little bit on the fence before. Okay. The other thing is, make sure that it's not overdone for every little thing or feeling forced. And that's why you need to try and be specific with what it is, and take that time with them to say, yeah, you've done a great job. Also, okay, a couple of chats, sorry. Amanda, it's about the small things that make a big difference. Absolutely, and being really thoughtful, absolutely. So that connection piece is all about being thoughtful. Thanks, Amanda. Okay. The other thing is, don't just keep that feedback to the individual. Try and share it where possible within your team environment so that they're elevating themselves within the team or even the entire business. Particularly when you get some great customer feedback for an individual, share that with the world, share that with the entire business. So you're elevating them in the eyes of your entire company. Okay. Cool. And finally, play. Having fun at work isn't just a nice to have, it actually is the foundation for a successful team. It's been the key ingredient that has helped some of my clients shift their teams from being really dysfunctional and just not connecting to actually getting to understand each other, finding out things they have in common, getting deeper connections, and then that transfers into the workplace. Neurons that fire together, wire together. I love that. So regular team building, if you're doing it consistently and over time, you will start to create those bonds within your team members. Again, just like with praise, try not to make it forced and overdone, or you'll end up like Michael Scott from The Office. Not ideal. But start off small. Have a coffee, have lunch with them to get them out of the workplace and into a different environment. And start to ask your people, what sort of things would they like to do? At first, you might not get a big response. And a great way of asking the question is, what's on your bucket list? What sort of things would you love to do? And see if you can create some alignment and do something really fun with your team. By getting them out of that task mode, it makes everyone on that even playing field. And if you've got people that are more leaders or more experienced in the team, it means that those less experienced ones have their chance to shine and step up. Okay, there's my chat. Hard being remote at the moment. So yes, it is. It's about trying to create, are you having, you know, a Zoom coffee chat every now and then, or you can have trivia events, or even just with those, the meetings that you might be having when you're remote. Share a funny photo, share, you know, create a bit of a challenge each week of, okay, this week, find your funny pet photo. This week, put a photo up of your favorite holiday. Anything to build those little connections. And the time will come when you will be able to get back to business again and into each other. There's a fantastic company out there called Be Challenge that I've done some work with over the years. And they are team building activity experts. When COVID hit, they pivoted a number of their key programs to be online. So if you have budget and resource, they've got these amazing apps now that have an online treasure hunt or a challenge, or they do the trivia as well, or even things like in the picture where you take lots of little photos of each individual person, which is great for remote because they can do it at home. And then it becomes this mural picture that they've all contributed to. So little things that you can do to keep connected. Yep. Kahoot trivia is 10 minutes of fun. Fantastic. Thanks, Ronnie. And escape rooms are online now. Brilliant. I didn't know that. Thanks, Carly. Wonderful. Okay. Great. Asking different questions. Yep, like favorite food. Exactly. Have a cook-off together. You can do that online. I've seen some celebrities doing it. It's a lot of fun. So give them a recipe and go, right, okay, we're going to spend an hour on whatever day and we're going to have a cook-off. Let's show what you're doing and see how people interact together doing that. Wonderful. Okay. We are going over time today with all of this chat. Sorry, everybody. I hope that's okay. Okay. Now, getting into remote work might feel a little bit like this. All of a sudden, you've been from the buzz of the office and there's now nada. How often, quick poll, how often are people now working back in the office? Let me just get the, okay, quick poll up there. Back when mostly we were working in the office, these spaces provided supportive, information-rich and always-on environments. We had that constant flow of social interaction and information. So it meant that we didn't have to do a huge amount to understand what was going on for each other. Okay, we have 50% fully remote still. And yep, a few are still about 50-50, and we've got a couple that are 100% of the time in the office. Okay, mixed bag there. Okay. When you're working remotely, obviously it really changes the dynamic. You're relying on those little snippets from Zoom meetings, people's facial expressions instead of being able to have that energy connection. And then after the meetings, it's lots of emails, which we know can be open to misinterpretation. And then people join the dots and not often in the right way. People who are working remotely, my clients have been saying they just don't know how to connect on that less formal stuff anymore. And he's not alone. The managers are so stretched at the moment trying to juggle everything they're doing, and they do need to communicate more with each team member that they're struggling. So I have some tips that have worked for my coaching clients to put in place. Firstly is to create team rituals and norms, and check in on them regularly. So creating consistency is so important when there's so much else being volatile around us. So trying to think what will work for your team, what is the best time of day to meet, and should you be meeting on a daily basis? Most clients of mine like to meet in the morning, every morning, a quick 15 to 30 minute catch up. But some teams might like to do that at lunchtime or later in the day, depending on when people's best work times are. Okay, check in on a regular basis, on a monthly basis, to say, is this still working for us? And of course, as we start to move into hybrid teams, those norms might change again. With that, the morning kickoff, what's worked really well is having a one-word, quick, non-discussion item. How are you feeling each day? For each member of the team. So, yep, feeling great. Yeah, I'm feeling a bit flat. I might pass. And that is valuable information, gold for you as a leader to know, okay, I need to check in on that person. They're not seeming quite right today. Then really quickly, what are your priorities for the day? Any word from around the ground? Any support that they might need from other people? Need to check in with you on that one today, so on. And create a bit of fun. That's why I've said wear some blue today, to try and create that little bit of extra connection. It might be wear a funny hat, whatever that might be. Get ideas from your team members of what they might like to share. Okay. Other meetings should be kept to a minimum if possible. We don't want days filled with Zoom meetings because it's just ineffective. So keep them brief, or try and do other things like have a Google Doc that you can share and work on together. If you are having meetings, make sure you've got the agenda there and send information over prior so people can digest it and it's not going to be a whole, this is the information meeting. Okay, the focus of those sorts of meetings should be engaging the team, asking questions and checking for understanding. Okay. Ensure that you have the right resources in place. If you need to upgrade, this is the time to do it. Technology is so important right now while we're working remotely. and understand and trust individuals' best work times and what they're doing. For example, I work really solidly first thing in the morning. I have a bit of a lull in the middle of the day, and I work really focused in that afternoon. So understand what works for your team members. Okay. 2-minute agile team catch-up approach is great. Thanks, Florencia. That's wonderful. 2 minutes focusing on what and how they're stuck and what they might need help with. Love it. Okay, office hours is another great tool for you as a leader, and you can do this 2 ways. One is you can say from 10 to 11, they're my hours that's my hour where you can call me at any time for anything, all those general questions that you need to catch up on. Or other leaders like to say, you can call me anytime except for from 10 to 12, whatever it might be and how your working style works, but to create that space where you can focus. And we'll talk about that more on Thursday as well. And then of course, keep having fun, have those virtual sessions so that you can keep connecting. Okay. As we're starting to, some businesses starting to get back into the office, some businesses and managers are trying to rush back their teams, but there's still significant limitations with shared meeting rooms and facilities. And is there any point in rushing everyone back? Or can you be more outcome focused? Rather than just being focused on compliance, this is what we used to do and this is what I like, actually go for the commitment of your team member, because if you give them that trust and that say in how they work best, they will most likely step up and deliver more for you. Of course, as I said, I'm a big believer in having that energy connection and being able to see each other face to face, but can that be once a week? Try and find what the sweet spot for you and your teams would be. Okay. And also the other thing is to be really empathetic on how people are working and what is going on for them, to really support them in what they need in the hybrid work. So to review today, connecting is all around listening, trusting, being transparent, showing appreciation, and having fun playing with your staff. That sounds a bit weird, doesn't it? Okay, so I've thrown a whole heap of tips and tricks for your team connection today. These are the foundations of connecting with your team. Your day 2 challenge is something that you're not going to share on Facebook, but you can email me if you'd like. Book in some time with your team this week or next if you have to, and ask them how do they want to be communicated with? How often? What's the preferred method? Is it email? Is it phone, particularly when you're working remotely? And what's the level of detail that they need from you? Everybody's going to be different. And of course, what support do they need from you to be successful? Your share for the Inspired Leader Facebook group today, and to me on email if you're not on the group, is what has been your best remote event to create connection when you're not in the office together? What has been that really fun thing that you've done that you can share with the rest of the group today? So, any questions? No, all quiet. Thank you very, very much. Okay, reminder that the most active people in our groups and on email, if you're not on Facebook, will receive the opportunity for 2 different prizes, 2 coaching sessions and predictive index that I mentioned. And the second prize is Simon Sinek's Start With Why, my favorite leadership book. Thank you everyone for your energy today. I've loved working with you. Tomorrow, we are talking about how to thrive through challenges. Given we have had so many of late, how can we focus on our self-care and help yourselves and your people to really thrive? Have a great day, everybody.